Hare Krishna, Jai Jagannath. Is there any requirement for lighting lamp in front of the Lord? Is there requirement for rituals to worship God? Is there necessary for us to wear the tilak? Is there necessary for us to sit for meditation? Like this, there are many questions in everyone's mind. Yes, there is a necessity for everything. But if we are doing it just as a ritual, and a person who is helping us or who is guiding us, he is also doing it just for formality's sake, then there is no result. We should know for what purpose we are doing. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is very clearly mentioned that we have to work hard for getting some result. So, but how should we work? It is mentioned that we should do everything by inquiry. So, in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, first shloka, Arjuna Uvacha, Kim Tad Brahma? What is Brahman? Kim Adhyatmama? Is asking, who am I? What is the self? So like this, what are fruitive activities? Kim Karma Purushottama? Adhibhutam cha kim proktam? Adhidaivam kim uchyate? It's not that blindly we have to be doing everything. People think that Bhagavad Gita or any other Vedic knowledge should be accepted blindly. Is there any need of rituals? Find out. If it is need only, you do. Yet, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruity activities? What is the material manifestation? What are Adhidaivam? The Devatas. Please explain this to me. So here these questions are explained by the Lord only gives the answer. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Supreme Lord said, the indestructible transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called the self. Action pertaining to the development of these material bodies is called karma. So we are all doing some activities, karma, which is leading us to suffering or happiness. So when we are doing some investment, business investment, we do this investment for getting profit only. Nobody does any investment for getting into loss. Even gambling, when person is going and doing some sports, he wants to win only. Although gambling will put them into poverty, they'll be intoxicated when they win, they'll feel, oh, I have got victory, but still there will be always loss. Similarly, when we are trying to do some rituals, these rituals are meant for spiritual elevation. But if we are going to sit in a temple or in some ritual for 1 hour, 2 hours, and after that we feel why this Pandit is so long time taking, he's performing some ritual, we don't know anything what their mantras they are chanting. Is there any meaning? Should I follow that? So for this, you should know why you are going and sitting there. Like we also follow rituals. Getting up early in the morning is also ritual. Taking as much as food is required for your stomach also is a ritual. Sleeping proper time is a ritual. Planning is also a ritual. Forecasting is a ritual. Documenting is a ritual. If you go to a chartered accountant, they'll give so many norms how to run an organization, how to account your transactions. So there are a lot of rituals. Ritual by itself is not wrong, but a ritual for what purpose you are doing. Morning to night, somebody is sitting and doing some work, they don't know for what they are doing. There is no use. So become a spiritualist. It's not that you have to follow each and every ritual given in the Vedas. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita and in Vedic literatures, each karma will give us something good or it can give us bad. So we have to do good karma, not karma which will bound us to this material world. In Ramayana, Ravana was a very big Vedic scholar. In spite of his expertise in Vedic rituals, he kidnapped Sita Devi. So he was not a moralist. He was not a sober person. With all his qualifications, he being a big scholar, he could not even control his own senses. Dashakanta, they say he had 10 heads and he had so much of intelligence, brain. In spite of him having a big brain, if that brain is used for wrong work, there is no use. When Ravana went to kidnap Sita Devi, he took Maricha Rakshasa with him. Maricha was a relative of Ravana. So Maricha told, I have seen this young boy, Ram. When he was a small boy, he attacked me when I went to disturb them in the forest. With Vishwamitra Muni, Lord Rama came to the forest, and when he shot on this Rakshasas, one Rakshasi died, and this Maricha Rakshasa, he fell thousands of yojanas. So means like miles together, he went and fell. Said, I know him, I will definitely be killed. So Ravana said, see Maricha, either you should be killed by me or Ram, you decide. Then Maricha decided, better to die in the hand of Rama than to die in the hand of Ravana. Because to die in the hand of Rama is also liberation. If you die in the hands of a demon, what benefit is there? So he went as a deer. Rama came and killed him, and later it was found that he was a demon. By the time he went back, the Sita Devi is not there. Ravan had kidnapped and gone. So here a person of so many qualities, he knew magic, he is using strategy, how to kidnap. This also requires brain. Like a thief wants to steal, he also has to plan. If a politician wants to cheat people, to make some scams, there also some intelligence is used, brain is used. Generally they say some politicians are not educated, so what good they can do for the society. You don't require academic education to do good or bad. You have sufficient brain to do good or bad. Your intention is required. You require a brain behind doing any good or bad. So politicians also do a lot of scams. Ravana He used all his strategy to kidnap Sita. When he was carrying and going Mother Sita, she was calling everybody for help. She was calling for Ram. She was calling Ram, Ram. She used to call continuously. What will happen to me? I cannot be separated from my husband. As a precaution, they say, when you are going place where there are dangers, do not go with your family, with your wife. Sita was married. She was very, very young. After marriage, she came to Ayodhya. And when Lord Rama was about to go to coronation, that time he was asked to go to the forest. So his coronation ceremony was stopped, and she told, I will come with you only, Ram. And Lakshman also joined, and they came. So you see, suddenly demons, they will attack. That's so any rules or regulations are told for us not to fall into danger. Sometimes people say, generally I may follow, but because it is written in this book, I will not follow. Like there is a book called Manu Samhita. These are all compilation of Manu's teachings. But people see that, so this is offending our independence, this is offending our rules, what we have to follow. So better you burn that book. Like this, people actually talk about Manu Samhita. But these are all moral codes given for our protection. They are not spirituality. You cannot go back to Godhead, or you cannot get liberation by following some moral books. But they are told for our precaution. So, coming back here, when Mother Sita was traveling on the sky in Pushpaka Viman, so Ravana used to use a very high machinery. He was having aeroplane to travel. It's not only now we have to purchase ticket and go to the airways. Now especially we have to wear mask and travel. So when we are traveling, it's not necessary that you can you have to travel without any protection. There also there are a lot other rituals are there, formalities are there. But in those days, there is no formality. You can fly. But you should be a person of that capacity. So not that everybody were using aeroplane those days. So people, the yogis had aeroplanes. The Siddha Lokas, they don't require aeroplane, they can fly by themselves. So anyway, Ravana had an aeroplane which was not belonging to him. It was belonging to Kubera. He stole that aeroplane, he captured it by force, and he was using it. So when she was flying in the sky, it's not a story, it was a reality. 100 years back, if you are saying that in our Puranas, that they were flying, oh, these are all history, it's all mythology. But now we know that we can fly. So there are many things in our Vedic history. Purana means history, it's not mythology. That these are all facts. It is all possible. So when this was happening, suddenly Jatayu came. Jatayu bird was a friend of Dashrath, the father of Ram. So Ram had a relationship with Jatayu as a father and son relationship. Jatayu is a bird, but it came to face a very powerful enemy and a big demon like Ravan. Ravan was not an ordinary person. Even Ravan's previous incarnation, in his previous life, he was Hiranyakashipu. By his eyebrows. If it raises his eyebrows, turns his eyebrows, the demigods, the devatas, the kinnaras, all people used to run away. Very powerful person as Hiranyakashipu. Even as Ravana he was powerful, but not as powerful as Hiranyakashipu. He could be controlled by other people also. He had some curse. So he could not go everywhere. Like he could not go to Vali. Vali and Sugriv. We know them also. The same Ramayana. Vali was so powerful that he had a boon that whoever comes in front of him, he can take over all their power. Ravan was very fearful of Vali. Once Vali had come to take bath in a river, so Ravan knew his power. So he went to catch him. Vali caught him and made him dip in all the rivers wherever he had to do his ritual. So very powerful he was. So like that, Ravan also had some enemies, strong enemies. But in general he had taken a boon that he cannot be defeated by anyone but except a human being. So the Lord himself came as a human form and later killed him. Because demons, they try to have a big tricks how to escape from death. Like right now we are having a lot of scientific theories how to get out of death. But in spite of our scientific advancement, newer and newer diseases are coming. From fever to some infections, from flus, like this pandemics, so many things are coming. We have no control. So we may grow very powerful in our education, or we may grow in our technology, but death is as sure as death. So death is compulsory. But a person of knowledge doesn't worry for death, because they know that this body is not all in all. Anyway I have to die. So why should I so much worry about my life? Actually we all require to live. It's not that, oh I have to, anyway I will die, so I will not work. Bhagavad Gita never advises anybody, anyway you have to die, so you simply eat, you sleep, do merry and you die. No. It advises you have to do your duties. Whatever your intelligence is, whatever situation you are in, if you are a student, you have to work as a student. If you are a married person, you have to take care of your wife and children. If you are a renunciant, then you have to renounce your world and do the duty of serving Lord, and the same duty of bringing people to the right platform. So he goes to the world and he works hard. It's a duty. So everybody has to do their duties. So even fighting is a duty. We cannot escape by not doing our duties. So the other person is powerful or not, we have to go and fight when it is required, especially when we are in danger. So when we are in danger, when you protect ourselves, it is not considered to be a sin. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the first chapter, there are aggressors mentioned, atatayinaha. So these aggressors are one who come to attack our house. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is advising Arjuna why he should fight with these Kauravas, because they have done 6 kind of offenses. According to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kind of aggressors. Aggressor means a person who creates trouble for others. He starts the fight. So they can be killed. Even according to law, for self-protection, somebody tries to attack you, you can safeguard yourself. Trying to safeguard yourself, if you kill them and the court it is proved that only for self-defense you have to kill them, it is pardoned. Similarly, in the Vedic literature, in Vedic injunctions also, there are 6 kinds of aggressors, and you can, even if you attack them or kill them, there is no sin. What is that? Number 1, a poison giver. Somebody goes and puts poison because of jealousy. So those people can be killed. One who sets fire to the house. One who attacks with deadly weapons. One who plunders riches. One who occupies another's land. One who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. The Ravana is kidnapping Mother Sita and is the aggressor, and he has to be killed. Who took up this job in the absence of Ram? Ram's representative, Jatayu, took up this job. Jatayu took up this job, and he knows Ravan is very powerful. But still it went to fight, and it went and stopped Ravan. Ravan asked, "Who are you?" "Some foolish bird, get out of my way." Jatayu said, "You have to face my fight, you cannot go." Said, "Okay." So he took up his knife and he cut off the wings of Jatayu, and Jatayu fell from the sky and he died. So even at the stage of death, it had done his duty. So Jatayu is an example of doing duty, whether you are having that strength or not. You have to do your duty. So it's not that every time we will be having a capacity to face this world, but we have to do our duty. If we do our duty, what was the result? Jatayu died in the material body. But you know how Jatayu's final rituals, Lord Rama came and he took Jatayu as his father and he did the rituals. As a son does for father, Jatayu got that benefit. So we should not get worried in our life when we are trying to practice spiritual life or anything in connection with God, that, "Oh, I don't have this." You don't have to worry. The Lord is not seeing what you don't have. Lord is seeing what is there in your heart. There is no success and failure in spiritual life. There is only success. And the success is you are pleasing the Supreme Lord. That is real success. Externally, somebody may have a lot of money, lot of talent, but if they are not using all this talent for the service of the Lord, then it's all useless. So Ravana has so many good qualities, but it's all useless. Shrama eva hi kevalam. It was all useless. It is his tapaha, it means his tapasya shakti is using for killing somebody. So he is not at all emotional, sentimental wherever it is required. So Ravana is a bad example. So we don't have to follow bad examples. So what did Lord Rama do after Ravana kidnapped Sita? He was simply crying and thinking, oh, what should I do? I am a responsible person. I have to be a moralist. I will pardon Ravan. Did he think like that? Did he show his covered eyes? Was he a coward? No. Rama gave sufficient lessons to Ravan, which is actually unparalleled in the history, in the mankind, because in these kind of aggressors have to be killed. It's not that Lord Rama, he has to go and fight, and now he is under exile and he has come out of his kingdom. He didn't go back to Ayodhya to bring his army to fight with Ravan. He put the faith, the determination, no, I will do what is required. And he took the help of the Vanaras. They were not even human beings. They were animals. So he took help of them and he fought with a very powerful demon of that time. So Ravana was finally killed by Lord Rama. Then Sita, Mother Sita, was brought back. So when Mother Sita came back, Lord Rama, not that he accepted her directly. So he said that you have to go through the fire. So there was a fire sacrifice where she had to go through a test, that she had to prove herself as chaste. So when we hear this, we feel, what kind of person is he? And people worship him as God. And such a good wife, chaste wife she was. And he was such a demon. How can Rama doubt Mother Sita? So generally moralists, they question this. Sometimes even feminists question that Mother Sita should have questioned Lord Rama, how can you do this for me? So actually, Lord Rama in Ramayana, original Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, he never told you get into fire. He only told, I will not accept you. Because he told, I will not accept you, she prepared a fire. She asked, Lakshmana, you please prepare for me sticks, I will enter into fire. So later, Mother Sita entered into fire. After she entered into fire, she again came out. So this one, when she came out, everybody was surprised how Mother Sita came out. So this is explained in Kurma Purana. That's why we have to know any knowledge from acharyas, from the authorities of that scriptures. Not that Lord Rama, what is his history, you can learn from Max Miller. Max Miller, when he is translating the Vedic literatures in English language, he will write for his convenience, or people who are sponsored for him to write that book, he will write according to the way his publishers want. He will not write according to the way the Vedic knowledge has to be written. The Vedic knowledge has to be taken from evam parampara praptam. It has to be taken exactly like how you go to a college and learn from an authorized institution. you want to be a medical practitioner, you have to go to the authorized institution. where they are authorized to teach this. Similarly, according to Vedic understanding, you have to go to a proper disciplic succession to understand this. So according to Kurma Purana, when Ravana had come to kidnap Sita, she prayed to fire god. The fire god took her away. And he had kept a Maya Sita in place of Mother Sita. And she was there in the place of Ravana. The original Sita was there with Agni Deva, the fire god. And Lord Rama knew this. And when the Maya Sita entered into fire, the real Sita Devi, the fire god, brought her out, and that is Ramayana. So we will not know what the intricacies of Ramayana, why it is being told like that, we will not know. So you have to know the background of it. Otherwise we can simply criticize Lord Rama or Sita or like that. There are so many stories people say it happened in Ramayana, why it happened like this. Like Mother Sita, she was sent into forest. Why Mother Sita, she was sent into forest is a mystery. She was a pregnant woman. She had later had 2 sons. Just for some people who commented wrongly on Ramji's kingdom, can he send her away to forest? If you see Ramji's kingdom, the citizens there, they were very anxious for his rule, because he could rule the kingdom up to the last stage of his kingdom. When he was ruling, there were no worries for any of their citizens. When there is a proper king, even the death happens in proper time. When Ramji was ruling, one case happened. A Brahmana came and complained that during my presence, my son has died. That means there is something happening in your kingdom. So Lord Ramji personally went, and he saw one person was trying to imitate the yoga systems, trying to imitate and doing something wrong, and Lord Ramji punished that person. Even a small disturbances could create some reactions. So Ramji was very careful for small problems in the kingdom. He used to go and address it. So people are very anxious to be in Ramji's kingdom. So this incident of Mother Sita sending to the forest is not accepted as a king's duty. It's also accepted as a part of renunciation. The kings used to go to the forest after a certain number of years. This was part of his renunciation. He showed excessive attachment to his wife when he lost his wife. He was so much crying and lamenting. He showed that as a human being, how one can be having so much of love to a wife, but that gave suffering to him also. He also showed how you can be detached if you have to do your duty. If you have to achieve something, you have to give up something. Especially if you have to achieve something for the world, you have to give up your sense gratification. The Brahmanas, they were taking sannyas. In the Varna Ashrama, Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishyas, they were called Dvija. Dvija means twice born. One time by their father and mother, second time they take birth from Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. The father is Guru, the Shastras are mother. So they take birth second time, now they have their goal in life. So that could be achieved for Brahmanas. They could take sannyas. Kshatriyas used to take Vanaprastha ashrama at the end of their life. And the Vaishyas, they were not taking Vanaprastha ashrama, but they used to practice Brahmacharya. Until you follow Brahmacharya, you cannot follow good Grihastha ashrama. And for Shudras, they cannot follow Brahmacharya, so they are at least told to get married. So it was really a scientific way of being trained in consciousness. So in this way they were getting trained. So Lord Ramachandra also had to give up his kingdom at a certain time. So these are all not blind beliefs. So Lord Rama, if he has to go to the forest, he cannot rule his kingdom, because he was meant to rule the kingdom. He was not an ordinary king. He was a supreme personality of Godhead Narayana. He had a purpose to rule in this world. And it is told about Lord Rama at the last stage of his life, when he was going back to Vaikunta, he walked towards the Sarayu river, and all the citizens of Ayodhya followed him, and they all got liberation. And Lord Rama later, he made an arrangement of putting a new souls to that city. People whomever were there with him, he took back to Vaikunta. So this is a real king. The duty of a king is not only to give comforts within this world, but after you pass away from this world also, you can get the same benefit of going back to Godhead. So that's the way a king has to be ruling. Even in Dwapar Yuga, like Yudhishthir Maharaj, when he was ruling also, he was ruling in such a way, they get both material and spiritual needs. Just material needs is not sufficient. We are seeing, this is the world of skin trade. The skin trade means how beautiful you appear, how nicely you can talk, how hypocritically you can act and still you can hide and appear to be a gentleman. These are modern terms of this world. Internally, your mind, your heart may be bleeding. Nobody cares. They want only external smile. Just a toothpaste advertisement doesn't make you happy. You have to really smile from within the heart. There are many photographs. The people say smiley, have a selfie, like that they take photographs. When friends go together or family in some function photographs, they are smile and you all smile. And that smile, you may be having misunderstanding, all those things are forgotten only for the photograph. The skin trade means not only photograph, there are videos to be made. You have to go and present yourself in the market for earning money. So you have to be a good salesman or a businessman or an engineer or a doctor. There are doctors who cannot smile in front of patient. They also take some drugs, how to keep always smiling. There are engineers who take too much of intoxicants, to wake up in the night, to work hard. But what happens according to law, the land law, you will have some rules where you should not take after certain dosage, but you are allowed to take in a small dosage. That only in the Vedic literature they say no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. But in the modern terminology, if you say all this no means, You are supposed to be pessimistic. You are not very liberal person. So it's all right to take little dosage. So little dosage sometimes will become more dosage. And the more dosage you take, then you will be banned. There are in sports they take drugs for running fast or for boxing, so they get caught. Similarly, we are hearing in movies also they take, for different reasons they may be taking, we don't know. But finally what happens, which is destruction of their own consciousness. Where is happiness? By taking drugs. They may be thinking, I will import some drugs, by taking this I will become very happy. The same thing they would have started in college days. By taking one cigarette, I will be very happy. From cigarette to drugs, where is happiness? But you can have more highness, more high happiness by just reciting the names of the Lord. If you are trying to take drugs, why not try to take the holy name of the Lord? Harir Nama, Harir Namaiva Kevalam. This is the only way in Kali Yuga. Kalau Nama Matrena Pujyate Bhagavan Harihi. In Kali Yuga, the Lord can be worshipped by reciting His holy name. In Jagannath Puri, there are so many saints used to come and recite the name of Lord Jagannath. And Lord Jagannath used to stop for them. Whether you are a rich man or poor man, you used to not see. Whether you are a Hindu or Muslim, you used to not see. There are great devotees of Lord Jagannath. Salbeg, Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikh religion also came. And he got attracted to Lord Jagannath, and Lord Jagannath gave him blessings. So Lord Chaitanya, he was praying to Lord Jagannath, and Jagannath was giving him blessings. So it was not in connection with what external qualification you have. See, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had both internal and external qualifications. He was a great Pandit. In his childhood he was called as Nimai Pandit. But when he took sannyas, he gave up all his Panditya, all his knowledge, his so-called, what he used to think, what people think as knowledge, he had given it up and taken up devotion. It's not that you have to give up everything, but a sannyasi need to give up for progressive devotional life. But when it is a requirement, when he sat in front of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was a head priest of Jagannath temple. And he was a great scholar and Vedantist, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you are a young sannyasi. I think he was just 24 years, he took sannyas and he came to Jagannath Puri. Very, very young. But he saw that he is a very qualified person. So this young boy, Chaitanya, he is thinking about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This young Chaitanya, young sannyasi, he may fall down from his spiritual vows. So I have to teach him Vedanta. By reading Vedanta, he may come to a right understanding. He can keep up his sannyasa. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, externally he behaved as an ordinary human being, and whatever elderly person like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya he could not deny, and they sat together, and for 1 week continuously he spoke about Vedanta, spoke about Sharirika Bhashya of Adi Shankara, and he explained his viewpoints. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu silently heard everything. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you are hearing from 1 week. and you are very silent. So when you are silent, two things may happen. You understand everything nicely, or you are not understanding anything. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I understand the Vedanta, but I am confused the way you are presenting the Vedanta. So it hurt Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Oh, you can understand Vedanta, but you are not understanding the way I am explaining it. So you know better than me, so you explain. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually explained, and there is one famous verse, Atma Rama verse. We will discuss that in some other time. In this famous Atma Rama verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained it 64 ways. It required scholarship. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had all knowledge. Not that devotion means we only chant and we remain silent and we don't have any knowledge. Jnana Vijnana Sahitam. The knowledge has to be applied knowledge which can be discussed. It's not that devotees chant Hare Krishna and when it comes to challenge, not that they cannot answer. They can answer. But you should be a person who are ready to receive knowledge. You have to be a student of knowledge. Not that you come just to challenge. Challenge is accepted, provided you should be a genuine, sincere seeker. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was a Pandit, but he gave up Panditya for spirituality. Similarly, there are so many rituals people follow, but not that all rituals are required to get bhakti. The easiest ritual mentioned, Yajnanam Japa Yajnosmi. There are a lot of yajna, different varieties of yajna. Our doing fire yajna is there, work yajna is there, but among all these yajna, Japa Yajnosmi, Krishna is in the Bhagavad Gita, and Japa Yajna. That's why we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By chanting this Maha Mantra, and before that chanting, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. By chanting this ritual, we also follow a ritual of chanting every day 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. This is also a ritual. If you are not able to sit and do a puja morning to night, which is not, of course, recommended in Kali Yuga, this temple worship of excessive doing rituals were recommended in Dwapar Yuga. There is a Yuga Dharma. Every age has a Dharma. There are rules to be followed. So for Kali Yuga, this Japa Yajna is sufficient. So when you are chanting this Panchatattva mantra and chanting Hare Krishna mantra as a ritual also of chanting 16 rounds, within 2 hours we can do, or sometimes it may take 3 hours for a slow chanter. But if you are chanting, just by chanting this, you get liberation. Just Kirtana Deva Matrena. Just by reciting the names of the Lord, Mukti Moksha Pradayakam. So you get liberation. So that's why we recite the names of the Lord. And how we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reciting the names. It's not that the person who has recited the name, they can continue to do all their dirty work and then still do, I am chanting the names of God, I can do whatever I want. Just like when you are taking a medicine, you are told to do something and you have been given a diet. You should follow, don't eat something. You eat something, don't eat something. There is plus and there is minus. So when you are chanting Hare Krishna mantra also, it has been advised you have to follow some spiritual rules and regulations of not committing some sinful activities, but we should chant Hare Krishna mantra, take prasadam. It's very simple to offer at home and take prasadam. It's a simple life, will be making us very happy. Not that you have to follow all the rituals. The teachings of Ramayana or the teachings of Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata finally are the same. So we have to learn to accept things in a favorable way, and we have to reject things which are not favorable to our devotional service. Anukulenasya sankalpa, pratikulenasya varjanam. So these are all principles of surrender. So we have to follow spirituality and accept principles which are favorable to our bhakti. Not that if you are gone to Arabic world, you have no water. So according to the Indian Vedic principles, you have to take 3 times bath. So if you have to tell a preacher, a person who has gone there, a religious person, if he says you have to take 3 times bath, otherwise you will not get bhakti. It is not practical. So every religion is actually to give devotion only. So if you are not able to do that, they give a ritual according to that time, place and circumstance. But it's not only the place, but it's also the person's capacity to take the knowledge. Like here, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is scolding Arjuna, Anarya Justam Asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna. Arjuna, you are speaking as though you are a Pandit, but your behavior is not of a civilized person. Arya means civilized person. In our modern textbooks, Arya is like some people who have come from Central Asia and they came and gave something. So there is some distorted truth which were mentioned by British history or whatever history created in our school books. But in the Vedic literature, it's not that Arya means he comes from one place. Arya means they are civilized being. They are very advanced in culture. They are called Aryas. So Krishna is scolding Arjuna, are you an Anarya? Anarya means a person who is not very advanced in knowledge. But Kshatriyas means they were Aryas. They are advanced people in consciousness. They are protecting people. For that sake, they were ready to die also. A Kshatriya never runs away from the battlefield. If a Kshatriya running away and from backside there are marks and they see backside there is somebody has killed him, means he is a coward. Kshatriya dies from front. Kill me from front. Even if they have no weapon, they don't mind. I will die. Kshatriya spirit. So anybody who can die for a higher cause, they are Aryans. So that is a civilization which we are actually trying to seek and trying to follow from Bhagavad Gita. The modern education, if they also follow the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana and Mahabharata, they can appreciate what is real culture rather than getting stuck with some rituals. In houses, they also ask us to follow some tradition. Definitely we have to follow tradition, but if they don't know for what they are following, then that is danger. So we have to know for what you are following, and if there is a principle behind it, then we accept it. That's why that's called Niyama Agraha. Niyama Agraha means there is a ritual. If you know why it is being followed, that Niyama, then that's all right. If you don't know for what you are following, then it is Niyama Agraha. But suppose there is some reason given, you follow for this purpose. Like we get up early in the morning and take bath, we do some yoga, we do bhakti yoga practices, we chant Hare Krishna mantra, we don't do this, we are told. Then he will say, no, I will not follow. Either not following or following without understanding why they are doing. Like 15 days once or 40 days some rituals we follow for getting some blessings of God. That is also one way better than not following. But there may be some rules people will be following just for the sake of following. When they see that they are not following this ritual, they become upset with children or with outsiders, and they don't give importance to devotion, but they give only importance to a ritual, that is not recommended in Bhagavad Gita. So we'll discuss more topics in the next classes. Jai Jagannath.